And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be using some leftover ham, and we are going to make two different soups out of that ham. You know, that's one of those things that you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to have leftovers, because most hams, when you cook them, are very big. And so what I like to do is take the leftovers and make soups out of them. So one of the soups that we're going to be making is a split pea soup, which is one of my favorites. And then we're going to make a 9-bean ham soup. And that's where we're going to get started. Now, I want to show you, this is a mixture. And you can buy this in the grocery store. Sometimes they're called 9 beans. This mix is actually a 16-bean mix. But any of those mixtures of beans will work. It doesn't matter. This particular one, I see lima beans, I see cranberry beans, I see little black beans, little red beans, little lentils, and actually some split peas in here, and some dried peas, and some black-eyed peas, just all kinds of different beans and peas in this mixture. But these are dried. And for those of you that may not know how to start with dried beans, what you have to do is rehydrate them. Now, there's two different ways of doing that. You can cover them with water and soak them overnight. That's an easy way to do it. Or if you're in a little bit more of a hurry, maybe you forgot to soak them overnight, you can cover them with water, bring it to a boil, shut off the heat, take it off the heat, and let it set for about an hour, and that also will rehydrate the beans. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to cover these with just plain water by about an inch or so. Now, you want to, what they call look the beans, which these are pretty good. I mean, sometimes if you have like dried pinto beans or dried cranberry beans, or really of any kind of a dried bean, there could possibly be like little small stones. So you want to kind of look over them and make sure that everything is okay. And I can, I did these earlier, so I know that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. And you just want to let those set. Now, if you're going to soak them like that, then you need to leave them overnight ideally, or, at least 4 or 5 hours. I've already got some that I did soak ahead, so I'm just going to set this back here, let those hydrate, and we'll use them for something else. But in this pot, I've already got an identical batch of that already hydrated. So we're going to turn that on to like medium high heat, and we're going to add some flavorings to our pot. Now, here, I'm going to back up just a little bit. You want to drain off that soaking liquid, and then put them in your soup pot and add some chicken stock. You could use water, but I think it adds a little more flavor when you add about, 3 or 4 cups or so of chicken broth over your beans. Then we're going to add about a cup of frozen corn that you have thawed, or you could use canned corn, that would be fine too. We're going to add some garlic, couple of cloves of garlic, some salt and some pepper, because I did not salt my pot or my beans as I was soaking them. Then we're going to add some flavorings, 1 bay leaf. Then we're going to add some carrots, some celery, and an onion. And because I have a leftover green pepper, I'm going to use my green pepper. My recipe originally doesn't call for green pepper, but I had half of one left from the cornbread that we're going to make, so I thought, well, I'll just put that in the soup. And that's something that you can learn to do, is utilize, I need a bigger knife, utilize those pieces of vegetable that you have. Don't let that go to waste. This will just add wonderful flavor to it. Or if you could use it, of course, for another use if you wanted to. But I like green pepper, so I'm just going to add it to my soup. I love soups, and I do all kinds of different soups. And I'm not the kind of person, it doesn't have to be winter for me to want soup or chili. I eat it year-round. But let me tell you, on a cold, snowy day, there is nothing more comforting than a warm bowl of soup. And this is one of those things that's ideal to make when you're serving a crowd, or maybe your family or you or whoever you're cooking for is on a different schedule, and you need to get, you want to have something good and nutritious to eat, but maybe they're not going to be there all at the same time. And this is perfectly good to just sit on the stove. You could add some tomatoes to it, and I do that sometimes. And we're going to add some celery, one of my favorites. I washed it, but I'm going to take the tops and the bottoms off. Celery is one of those things you really need to scrub, because in case you did not know this, celery grows in the dirt. I mean, literally, up through the dirt. And so in between the little stalks of celery, there could be dirt. Celery is one of those things, if you can buy organic, because it does grow up out of the dirt like that. There is a list, you can look it up. It's called the Dirty Dozen, and it lists the vegetables that if you can buy organic, the things that you should buy organic, and celery is on that list. So I do try to buy this organic if I can, if the store has it. Add that right straight to the pot. And my carrots. And my carrots I have scrubbed, and I don't always peel carrots. Sometimes I just leave them with the peel on. I scrub them because that's a lot of, vitamins and minerals and things that, you want to have in your food. So you don't have to peel carrots unless you just want to. Cut them in half, and if they're big like this one, I cut it into quarters. And then just line them up and cut them. I like the prep. A lot of people are like, oh, I hate chopping all that stuff. To me, it's relaxing, and I enjoy the prep of cooking as much as I actually do cooking. To me, it's fun. It's relaxing. And I do like to work beside my stove if at all possible. That way you can do what I'm doing. And I'm just, as I'm chopping the vegetables, I'm dropping them into the pot. This one's hard. And if you could add really any kind of vegetable that you wanted to add to this. If you were using something like zucchini, I would probably wait a little bit because zucchini cooks very, very quickly. These are heartier vegetables that need some time to cook. Those aren't, I think I'll just leave those whole. Now, I'm going to add this. We're just going to let that come up to a simmer. I'm going to chop one onion here and add this to the pot. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to chop up this onion, and when I come back, we're going to start on the split pea soup. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now all I did was chop that onion, because you've seen me chop onions 1,000 times, and put that in the pot, and I'm just going to bring that up to a simmer and let it go. We are going to get started on the split pea soup. Now, my mama always shredded her carrots and her ham for her split pea soup, so that's the way I'm going to do it. I've already done 3 carrots, and I'm going to do the 4th. I use the large holes of a box shredder, or if you have a food processor, It's a whole lot easier in the food processor, but we're just going to do it this way today. It makes a mess, but you know, this is the way my mama did it. So you don't vary from what mama did. And she is the one who made the split pea soup. It was always a tradition. When she had ham, she made split pea soup. And then on Christmas Eve, she always made split pea soup to eat on Christmas Eve. When you get down to the little nubs, my advice is stop, unless you just really want to shred your fingers. Now, I've got about 4 tablespoons of butter here. Knock out some of those carrots. I'm going to add my carrots, my mound of carrot here. We're going to saute that. I'm actually going to grate the onion too, and I'm going to stand back so I don't get tears in my eyes. This is why it's smart to use the food processor. If you have people in your family, or whoever you're cooking for, that don't like the texture or the chunks of carrots or onion, or even garlic for that matter, this is a great way to get the flavor without getting the chunks, is to grate it. Just be careful and watch your hands. My boys aren't real big fans of the chunks. So what I do is grate it in there until it starts falling apart, and then I quit. Because I don't want to grate my fingers. I've done that too many times. Now, always hold this over your pot and carefully get up in there and get all that out of there. Whew, my eyes are going to start watering. And add your onion to your pot, and all we want to do is soften those onions a little bit. Stir that around in the carrot just a little bit. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to, but I think it tastes good. We're going to add a couple of bay leaves and some salt and some pepper. And we're going to add some split peas. Now, this is what split peas look like. They cook fairly quickly, and I've got just one bag. That's a 16-ounce, a 1-pound bag of split peas. And you don't have to, there's a grain of rice in there. Well, that ain't gonna hurt us. You don't have to soak the peas. They're fine the way they are. And then stir that around. And I'm adding chicken broth. Mama always just added water, but I like the flavor of the chicken broth in there. You want to add enough broth to cover it, but not too much. Reserve some. You're going to need probably about, 6 cups or so. If you put too much, your soup will be too thin. So I like to just put enough to kind of cover that. Now we got our ham, but we don't want to put our ham in either soup yet because the ham's already cooked. So we really are just cooking the beans at this point and the peas. We want to cover that, and we're going to let that simmer about 30 minutes or so until those peas are tender, almost tender, and then we will add our ham to both soups. So I'm just going to clean up. When I come back, we'll make the cornbread and get these soups wrapped up. All right, now let's take a look at our soups. Where's my, there it is. Here is soup 1. We still have not added our ham, but that's okay. We're going to in just a minute. Look at that, how good that looks. Oh, I cannot wait to dig into that to eat it. And then soup number 2, which is our pea soup. Now remember, before you serve, you got to remove those bay leaves. You see how nice and thick that is? That's exactly what you want. We're going to add our ham to that in just a second. And I've got those on low, and we're going to start on some corn muffins. Now, you can make this in a round pan like this, or cast iron skillet if you have it, or you can make it in muffin tins, which is what I tend to do more. Cooks quicker, but it's also individual servings, and it just makes it a little easier. I did spray it with nonstick baking spray. I got about 1.5 cups of cornmeal in here, and I'm going to add a cup of creamed corn. I'm also going to add some very finely minced onion and green pepper. This is kind of a Mexican cornbread. Oh, it's not going to be spicy though. There's no spices in there. And then I've got some buttermilk and 3 eggs. And I'm going to go ahead and put my eggs in my buttermilk and whisk them together before I add it to the dry ingredients. And then just take a fork or a whisk, whatever you have handy. Break those yolks and whisk it together. Get those eggs whisked in there before you add it to the dry ingredients. Cornbread's very, very easy to make. Add your wet mixture into your dry mixture and then stir it together. And you're making a batter. And you also will want to have some shredded cheese. You could use cheddar, you could use Monterey Jack, you can use whatever kind of cheese that you like. And I do use the cornmeal mixture in this, the one that's ready to bake. It's already got all of the, the baking soda and baking powders and things like that in it. You can get them in the box or at the store, or you can get them in the bags. Either one will work. Now, I'm going to take my muffin tin. I've also got a little small scoop. Stir that just a little more. You don't want to over-mix your batter. You just want to mix it to where the dry ingredients are incorporated. If you over-mix it, what'll happen is it'll be tougher. That goes true for all bread type mixtures, pancakes, muffins. Want to fill these about halfway at this point. That's why I've got a little small scoop. It's just a little easier. Just filling up my muffin tins, and this will make about 24 muffins. And then take a little cheese and sprinkle over. Now, if you were making it in your round pan, you would want to fill it, put about half that batter in, and then sprinkle cheese over it, and then top it with the batter. But since we're making muffins, we're just going to do them in little individual. These will cook in about 14 or 15 minutes, whereas that'll take about half an hour. So if you're in a hurry, I do the muffins most of the time anyway, because it's just easier. It's already ready, portioned out. It's just easier, and we like it better. And then take a little more batter over top. Just a little bit. Sandwich that cheese in between, and it'll melt. It'll be so good. Oven is preheated to 400 degrees. You can also make little mini bites. If you wanted to use a little mini muffin tin, you could. Would be fine too. So let's get this in the oven. 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. There you go. Now, let's go back to our soups. Let's put this aside for a minute. Now, we've got to add the star component of this dish, and that would be the ham. Now, again, I go back, whenever you cook ham, you tend to have leftovers. And this is the leftover ham that we had for dinner the other night. This was just a very lean, very good ham, actually. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut it into little small ham slices and stack them up there. You can also buy a ham steak if you don't have leftover ham. You can buy ham steaks in the grocery store. You can actually buy cubed up ham in the grocery stores. And then I'm going to cut it into little cubes for the bean soup first. I'm going to put about half in each one. You want about a cup, cup and a half or so of ham per soup. As much or as little as you like. I love ham. I love to use the leftovers in quiches. I stir fry it up for breakfast in some eggs. I'll saute an onion and some green pepper. And then I will put, some shredded or cubed ham in there and then add some eggs and make a scrambled egg out of it or an omelet. So good. There's so many uses for it. And this is one of those things, if you have leftovers and you can't, use them immediately, freeze the ham. Go ahead and cut it up into cubes and put it in an airtight Ziploc baggie and freeze it. And then when you're ready to make your soups or your whatever you're making, you've got your ham ready to go. And if you have a bone-in ham, don't throw away that bone. Add that bone right into the soup as you're cooking those beans or the peas, and oh, the flavor that you'll get. This was a boneless ham, but if you have a bone-in ham, use that ham bone to cook your soup. It really adds a whole lot of flavor. And really, we just need to let that warm. Everything is cooked. We're just letting that ham warm. Now, in our pea soup, the split pea and ham soup, my mother always shredded her ham. She would take a box grater and shred it, but I want to just chop my ham. I like to have a little bit chunkier of a bite of ham in here. So I'm going to do the same thing basically here that I did in the other one. I'm just going to slice this up and add it to our soup. And then when our corn muffins are done, we will be ready to eat. All right, now our soups are done, and all I did was chop up that ham, just like I did with the bean soup. I chopped it up and put it in the split pea soup. And here are our wonderful little corn muffins, and I cut one in half for you so you can see how moist and delicious they are. They are so good. So here is our wonderful split pea soup. Now, a lot of people like to put croutons on their pea soup. So I bought just some croutons to put on there. Me, I like it just plain. But if you like croutons, you can, or you could add some cheese or whatever you wanted. And here is our delicious, this particular one was a 16 bean mix, but you most of the time can find a 9 bean dried bean mix. And that's our wonderful bean soup and our split pea soup and our delicious little Mexican corn muffins. These are some things that you can do with your leftover ham. And if you don't have leftover ham, then you could just buy a ham steak or some cubed ham at the store and make these recipes. I have seen turkey ham in the stores too, so you by all means could use that. Or you really could leave the meat out and make them vegetarian. With your soup here, you could add some tomatoes to it, and I do that oftentimes. I will add just a can of diced tomatoes or crushed tomatoes to that, and it's delicious. You could add any kind of vegetable that you wanted in there. But here is my mama's wonderful split pea soup and our dried soup and our wonderful little corn muffins that you can make anytime. You could put this in the crock pot and let it go, and you would have dinner done when you get home. Thank you for joining with me. Try these recipes and let me know what you think, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.